Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About It with Inea and Mashira. Please make sure you take the time to subscribe, like, and hit the post notifications to stay up to date with my latest podcast. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About It with Inea, Mashira. Today's episode is one I feel so many of us can relate to. Toxic love versus real love. Why we mistake chaos for connection. And I couldn't do this without somebody who knows the topic well. She's a professional editor. She got her own podcast called Break Up to Wake Up. And she's an amazing friend who always keeps it 1,000. Y'all, this is Chanelle.
Hey, guys.
What's up, Chanelle?
Just life. We almost didn't make it here today.
I know, y'all. We got pulled over, and I just knew they wasn't pulling me over.
Right? We were like, it's not us. It's not us.
Two of them. I said they must be mistaken because it can't be two cops behind my car. Mm-hmm. But it was a journey. It was fun. I was trying to hook my friend up, but oh my god! All right, Chanelle. I'm super excited that you're here. I'm so grateful that you're here. So Chanelle and I, we have done podcasts before, and they're always really good conversations. And I think that this is going to be a really good one. I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to it, and it's challenges that at some point we all go through. So I have a quick question for you before we get deep into this.
Okay.
So what's the most toxic thing you've ever seen in a relationship? It could be yours, a friend, or
that
just something wild that you've seen.
In general?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess all the movies where somebody cheats and has a baby on you.
Oh yeah, that's pretty toxic.
Because I feel like that's like one of the only things that is irreversible, is that you have created a new family with this side person. If y'all had a baby,
yeah,
having a baby on your partner, you can't take that back.
That is pretty irreversible.
I mean, after a certain point, you can't take it back.
When you hear the phrase toxic love, what comes to mind?
That it's the kind of love most people are probably in right now.
Okay, what does that mean?
Unfortunately. I just think that everybody tends to stay in toxic situations for too long, and that we all, accept calling things love that are clearly not love.
So when you think of toxic love, like, what does that look like, in your opinion?
It's like distrust, dishonesty, betrayal, lack of communication, gaslighting, unable to resolve conflicts, ups and downs, super high highs, super low lows.
Yeah.
No consistency.
So I think what I want to talk about today is helping people understand like what toxic love is. Because I feel like at times, we may find ourselves in a situation that we can't quite identify for whatever reason, and we may not know because we may not know anything different, right? So we may not know that we're in a toxic love. So, but to the flip side of that too, right? Some people, they may not necessarily be in a toxic relationship. They may be going through a tough season that they mistake as toxicity, right? Because it doesn't feel good at the moment. So yeah. What would you say like the difference between a toxic relationship? How can somebody identify being in a toxic relationship versus just a tough season in their relationship?
I would say looking at where the problem is stemming from. Like if it's just that, you lost your job and now finances are tight and now you're both stressed about money, or it's that, y'all have to move to another state or city and it's like all this planning and it's very stressful. It's like if that's where the conflict is mainly coming from, that's more situational. But if it's just like there's a constant issue and the issues don't get resolved and there's just like this pattern of this up and down, and it doesn't stop, then it's more so coming from the relationship.
Okay, I can see that. Some of the notes I made for like the difference is, for one, like, a tough season, it still has a sense of respect and accountability.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in a toxic relationship, it's like you said, like a lot of gaslighting and maybe some manipulation, pointing the fingers, like even through the rough times and I guess just a tough season, you still respect your partner.
Yeah, like there's a line that if it's just a tough season, neither of you would cross. But if it's just a toxic relationship, that line's getting crossed all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
And that's to the second point I made. A toxic relationship is like a cycle.
Yeah.
It's repetitive. And I know I've been in that before, where it's like we hurt each other and then we apologize, and for whatever reason, oh God, we think this is going to be our last time apologizing, and it's just like the cycle starts over. And it starts over and it starts over. And then the last point I have for that is a tough season challenges you, and a toxic love drains you. But can tough seasons also drain you?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, especially if it's like, what if it's like a health problem that could be with you for the rest of your life? I think there's a lot of long-term issues and a lot of things that are not that easy to fix.
Yeah, I feel that. Well, this is what I think about tough seasons versus toxic relationships in general. A tough season, it tests your love. A toxic relationship would test your sanity. That part. Okay. Testing your love versus your sanity. I think mental health is really important, and we get drawn down when it comes to toxic relationships, in that. So, with that said, have you ever experienced a toxic love or anything like that? What's your experience?
Yeah. I suppose I have. I think I had a lot of I think I had a lot of people that felt like they loved me, but they were really toxic.
Yeah? What do you mean? Explain.
Like, to me, a toxic love is just not love. Like, there's just I think a lot of people loved me in a toxic way, because the way I love people is I have a line of things that I will not do to you, things I will not say to you, ways I will not behave toward you, and that is my, love that I give. And some of them people, say they love me, but they don't have no line. They'll just say anything, do anything, don't care to me, like they have no line, and so it's just never going to be a fair situation at that point in my case.
Yeah. Do you have like any examples you care to share of how you were able to identify, like, hey, like, this is toxic? Like, it's not even a matter of compatibility. This is just straight toxic.
Yeah. I think just there being a constant problem, I just don't see a reason for it. 90% of the time, I'm sitting in the house on my computer. What reason does someone have to be constantly mad at me? And just like there always being an issue about any and everything, it's really not supposed to be that hard in my mind. So there's just no reason we should be having an issue every other day.
Yeah. So, do you think that a lot of people, like most people, are just used to trauma bonding and like they're mistaken the trauma bonding for love?
Yeah, I think people mistake a lot of things for love. I think this idea of how someone can love you and hurt you and betray you and harm you and lie to you is just really like widely accepted, you know? So I think people accept a lot of behaviors that are not love, but just, I don't know. We like choose to believe that people really feel that way about us if we can believe that they're sorry, or we want to lie to ourselves and think that they can change, and we just, I don't know, it's a natural human instinct to want to stick with a person and to want to stay and to want to, we're wired to connect with each other and to partner up. It's hard to break that.
Yeah. I think you said something interesting about like betrayal. So people, they stick around even though the person may have betrayed them, and they have this idea that this person won't do it again or whatever. So why do you feel like, and at one point I went through this, hell, you know what I'm saying? Like, betrayal can happen in all kind of ways. It could be, you emotionally betrayed me. You mentally betrayed me. I thought you were my safe space, and you weren't there for me when I needed you to show up. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like betrayal can happen in those ways. It can happen in an obvious way, which is cheating, like sexually cheating or emotionally cheating. But why do you think we stay in these relationships where somebody has betrayed us in those ways?
I don't know. I think it depends on the person. I mean, we were talking about this earlier. Me personally, I'ma stay if I have committed to this relationship, because in my mind, when I committed to you, I committed to all of you. And this is part of what I agreed to. Like, this is what I signed up for, is pretty much my mentality about it. So
you feel like if they betray you, because you signed up to be with them, you'll stay with them?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to say it like that, but I'm just saying that is the reason why I have been forgiving to people after a betrayal, is because in my mind, I'm like, I committed to doing everything I can to see if this can work. So therefore, I have to at least attempt forgiveness before I'm, just trying to leave, But I think for a lot of other people, they may feel like they're in love. And that makes them want to forgive and stay around and stay in their relationship.
Do you think a lot of people feel like they're in love because they actually don't know what self-love is?
Yeah.
And the reason this is why I'm asking that, because I feel like, obviously you're one of my closest friends, so like you definitely know my past. And I just feel like, for me, just being in relationships, I've been in 2 serious relationships, and like I realized I accepted so much because I honestly didn't even honor myself. Like I didn't know what love was. So for me, it was more so like, I'm accepting this toxic love, saying it's love. I used to have this thought process that anything that comes easy won't work. So if we're arguing in the beginning, it's because we're working it out for the end. And I was, damn, was I wrong? But
you thought it would get better.
Yeah. So we had to go through this.
Growing pains.
Yeah, it wasn't growing pains though. It was just toxic. But what I learned out now that I've been single for almost 3 years, it's like, no, actually you don't have to go through that. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, for me, like I've met women and I've dated women where, no, we're not together because we may not be compatible, but like there's great ass women, and it's like there's actually people out there that won't treat you like that.
Yeah.
And I feel like as you grow in your self-love and like you really learn yourself and you treat yourself right and you stand on you and you raise your frequency, and you'll naturally start to attract more people that will do the same
and reject people that are not able to give you that. Is also what you start doing.
Yeah, speaking of that, let's hop into that conversation.
Oh my God, wait.
Rejecting people who are not for you. So
my favorite thing to do.
Oh my God, yeah. I like rejecting people too, but sometimes people slide in, So
I feel that.
Why do we have this misconception that something that we know isn't for us, even if it feels good, we continue?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of experience in that department. I don't know. I feel like you should answer this question.
You feel like I should answer the question?
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, she just put me on blast.
I don't know. Wait, no, I didn't mean it like that.
I don't know, I did.
Wait,
You
no.
talk to me about it. I don't do that.
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant like my longest, like you understand you were not meant to be with your other girlfriends, but you were with them for years. I haven't been with anybody longer than 1 year because that's my limit, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine being there longer than that. So that's what I'm saying is like, when you were there for like 4 years with someone that was clearly not the right person, like why were you staying?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that's different than now. But then I just feel like I was young, you know what I'm saying? I was young in both of those relationships. And I think it goes back to what I just said. I didn't know what self-love was. But damn, am I so grateful for those relationships because those are the relationships that, like we talked about on your podcast, the break up to wake up, it woke me up to the fact that, yo, I didn't know I could get this low. So yeah, I stayed in it because of attachment, right? Things we call love. When you heal, you realize you was not in love. You was attached. You know what I'm saying? You felt like you needed this person when you really just needed yourself and to go pray. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for me, it was definitely attachment. It was unhealthy love. It was reminders of my past as far as like growing up. I grew up in at some point it was very abusive. I grew up being like yelled at and just kind of showing up in a lot of ways that wasn't returned. And that was what was happening a lot of times in like my past relationships. So it was familiar. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we don't even see that the kind of people we're going for, they just familiar, and we're going to keep repeating those familiar patterns until we do the work to unlearn those patterns within ourselves and learn new patterns. And then that's what I did. So I took the time, which is why I'm still single, and I chose to be single. So that way I said I never want to attract that a day in my life again. And it hurt like hell to get through it, but you got to put the work in to never attract that a day in your life again, But to the point though, still, even in like these more healed spaces and like the dating space, I still think it's, because you're still going to attract all kind of people. And sometimes it might be that one person that you feel like you have this chemistry with and you feel aligned with, but like deep down, y'all not supposed to be together and you still have fun with it.
Yeah. I also just would love for everyone to be like, I don't know, I was watching Love is Blind.
Here we go.
I feel like everybody talks about like, oh, my gut feeling and like, oh, I just feel this and I feel that and and I just really tried to, I'm a logical person and I feel like that's what everybody should do.
Chanelle is very logical. Very black and white.
And I feel like we need to bring the logic into it because it's not just a feeling. Yeah, it is right. Like there's a reason if you just look hard enough, like why, like, oh, I'm getting this uncomfortable, gross, sicky feeling around this because you can't communicate or because they talk to you crazy or because like it's not, these gut feelings are not just like coming out of nowhere. And I think that should be the case for the good and the bad things. Like, I think if you love someone, it shouldn't just be a feeling. It should be like, I love them because I love their morals and values. I love the way they carry themselves. I love the way that they handle hard situations. I love the way that they're positive. Like you should know exactly the things that like make you love a person.
Yeah, sure why. Not just they make me feel good. And I was reading a book. I forgot what book I was reading, but I 1000% agree with that because, I hate to bring up my last relationship, but everything was a feeling. One day you feel like this and the next day you feel like that, right? So it's just, if everything is based off of feeling, then you're very unpredictable. Yeah. Because it's kind of like what you just said. You don't have a very firm ground to like, what's your reason for loving this person? Just something I was thinking about. Do you think that two people can be together and experience a whole different reality? And what I mean by that is one of them may be like so in love with this person or really like them and feel like explosive, like aligned, like, oh, like this is what I need. And the other person feels like, wait, this is not what I need.
Yeah, I definitely think that because I mean, two people, can experience the same conversation and have two different perspectives of what even happened in the conversation. So to go through a whole relationship, like I think it's
Or it could be. It doesn't have to be a relationship. It could be somebody you're just dating, or
yeah.
getting to know.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think the human mind is the least reliable source of information when it comes to any topic. So, and then memory for sure. So, I don't know. And then people sometimes can see what they want to see. And so if someone has
Yeah.
decided, like, this person is everything I ever want, and they, like, decided that in their head, it may be hard for them to see what's really happening, versus the other person who's not idealizing their partner or whoever, maybe seeing more of the reality than the other person.
Yeah. Well, I have a second perspective to that. I definitely agree with that one. But I feel like sometimes, you can be something to someone because, like, just of who you are and it's feeling to them. But on the flip side, they don't feel you. So they can't meet you where you are.
Yeah.
So now it's this um, feeling of unyokeness on one side. And it's like, well, how do you express that to someone who deeply thinks that about you?
Yeah.
You're not because you're lying. It's just they like who you are, but I don't know.
Yeah.
About you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've been in some situations where I'm like somebody's like dream girl, and I'm like, girl, and they're not,
How do you?
but like I'm theirs.
How do you get out of those situations?
Leave. Because it's just nobody deserves that. I think like everybody deserves to feel that way about who they're with and to have the person they're with feel the way about them. So it's like, if I don't feel the way about you, somebody else will feel that way about you. And not me.
What did you initially feel that way about any of them, and then like you just started seeing stuff, so it's just like, ooh, not sure.
I think I initially saw people as like someone who'd probably be a decent partner, but farther than that, you don't know until you get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Who they are.
Why do you think that it's so hard to walk away from something that's not good for us?
I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons. I think we are a communal species, and so it's difficult to like break out of the community of a partnership, especially the intimacy of a romantic relationship.
You think that has a lot to do with just like energetic bonds that are created when you're with someone? Or do you think it's more based on attachment?
I think it's both of those things. And then, even like in a societal way, like society pushes us in relationships too. Our family and friends may push us, and it's like a thing that everybody, and then if everybody's around you is in a relationship, there's an additional pressure to it. And then I don't know, if you're older, you may feel like, oh, I gotta stick with this one because I don't want to start over. Or if you've already been with this person for a couple years, you don't want to start over then.
You think image and trying to keep up with social media keeps people locked into situations they know aren't healthy because they're trying to present a certain way?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I think that's definitely the case. Sometimes to social media and to your friends and family even, I think even when people are married, I feel like especially if people get married, it's like nobody wants to have to go tell your friends and family you're getting a divorce. So, or if you have children together, nobody wants to say we're breaking up our family.
I think a lot of times though, I agree with that. I think also a lot of times people have this idea that this is going to change because we play out this fantasy in our head of what this person may do, but it's like that's what they would do if you were them. That's not what they would do. Like what they're doing is who they are.
They're
right?
doing what they would do.
They're doing what they would do. And then
if they wanted to, they would.
When you say it, if they wanted to, they would. And then I think sometimes people, on the flip side, I think it's a lack of accountability of them not recognizing what they're bringing to the table and how they're showing up for their partner, whether it's like an anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, not showing up emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever. Like you're not being that safe space for your partner, and it's like you're not really working on it either.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's like a lot of different factors that can go into like why people don't leave.
Well, and I think it's also like people's standards for relationships, I think, are just I don't, people be like have standards, and they would, I don't know, I feel like it never gets into like specific details, but you know, like in one of my relationships, somebody felt like it was perfectly normal to be like cussing me out, you know, and I'm just, that's, and I think the the standard for what should be considered okay and not okay in a relationship is pretty low a lot of the time. I think most people draw the line at cheating.
Yeah.
Like if you cheat on me, I'ma leave. But they can do anything else to you and like not listen, not communicate, not resolve problems. Like they can do everything else to you and you won't leave. But like because the standard is just don't be a cheater, and the standard isn't anything else for a lot of people, I think.
I agree with that. I think the standard needs to be raised, but I think that also goes back to the point of self-love.
Yeah.
And you're doing what you're used to, like you're accepting what you're used to. You know what I'm saying? And to me, that goes back to self-love. If I love me and I won't treat me like that, right? I won't, you know, I'm not just letting random people hurt me, or I'm taking care of myself. I'm showering myself with love. I feel like once you reach that point, you're not going to allow that into your space.
Yeah. And I'll say that kind of my turning point that really made me like leave my last relationship was me just realizing who I am in a relationship. Like really knowing like I do not put nobody through this type of stuff. Like I don't, you know, I'm very compromising. You know, I'm very good at compromising. I'm very good at like I'll communicate. I don't like to make a fuss about a bunch of stuff. It's like I am a very like in my opinion, I'm a pretty easy person to be with. And so if you're sitting here making my life difficult in and day out, it's like this is never going to be fair to me because you have a pretty easy ride over here.
Yeah, sure.
I'm dealing with all this stuff because of you.
Right.
And so just recognizing that like I would never put you through what you're putting me through.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
yeah.
Gotta go.
I just got a question because I feel like it's so like people will put you through stuff and then get mad when you finally react to it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they'll do stuff, and then when you're fed up with what they're doing, and they turn around and point the finger at you, and it's just like, actually, you've been doing X, Y, and Z, and I've been trying to show up, and now that I'm fed up, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Why do you think people do that? Do you think that's a form of manipulation?
Yeah, because I mean, I think people just want to. I don't know, I think most of the time people are so concerned with like what the other person is like not giving to them or not doing for them and but they're like not looking at like, well, how am I treating this person? What am I giving them? What am I doing to them? You know?
Yeah. So what do you think are some of the first steps that somebody could do to break the cycle of chasing what hurts?
I think we gotta stop being in denial. That is my biggest thing. Gotta stop being no denial 2025. Like, you know, because I just think we act like we don't know, you know, and relationships are really not supposed to be that hard. Like life is hard. You know, relationships are supposed to be helping us and supporting us. You know, they're supposed to be beneficial for us.
Yeah.
Like your relationship should not be such a cause of turmoil in your life all the time, you know? And we just gotta stop thinking all this stuff is okay.
Yeah. But that's not to mistake toxic love with tough seasons.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people run as soon as something feels tough or hard versus, hey, let's work through this.
Yeah. Or when it's different. I think I've definitely come across some people that as I was getting to know them, they're really used to communicating in a way that's more like a rah, rah, da, 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 and then it's like, and then they're over it, versus like I
Yeah.
want to just sit and have a very calm conversation and talk about it, and let's discuss our feelings and let's talk about how it's not going to happen again, and I think that when something is so different, I think sometimes that freaks people out,
Yeah.
or people are not ready to raise their own standard of behavior to that. Sometimes people are not ready to, be in a healthy relationship either, because they still have to, their habits and their patterns are to participate in the toxicity pretty much.
But they say they want
Yeah,
love.
they say they don't want that. Yeah.
This is something that I kind of live by, and it really bothers me. Like when I see it, I always say, don't awaken love in someone when you have no intention on following through with it. So, do you think that toxic people can change their ways?
Yeah, I've seen it. I've seen it. But it has to come from within, like their own desire to change. Like no person, relationship can make them change. Like it has to come from their own desire, or they're not going to do it.
Yeah. I was talking to my friend about this the other day, and she was telling me how, like, between her and her girlfriend, like, they started dating, and, like, her girlfriend kind of, like, love bombed her in the beginning. So, she was telling people about her and, like, just all of this stuff. But then, she was still talking to other people, or she was still just doing all this they weren't in a relationship at this point, but she was just still doing all of this stuff. To the point, my friend was just like, you know what, yo, I'm done. Like, I gotta choose myself. And like, I'm going through this roller coaster with you, and it's like you're getting all the benefits of being here with me, right? Like, you feel good with me. I love you, but I don't feel good with you. Like, I don't feel safe with you because like you're not showing up for me at all. Like, you're just getting the benefits and doing everything else you want. So she left her, and I was so proud of her when I heard that story. Like, she just left her. Like, she told her she cared about her, and then she just kind of cut her off at that point, which was super hard to do, and I can only imagine. But, but like a year later, the girl wound up wrapping back around, and now like they're together and they're in a really healthy relationship. So, do you think that sometimes people stay toxic, or they continue to do like whatever they want and stay in these situations or with whoever and however and whatever until somebody that they care about just says, you know what, I'm done with this? So I feel like a lot of times people continue to do the same thing because they haven't had someone say, I'm done with this that they cared about.
Yeah. I mean, I think it depends on where their level of toxicity is at. Because if they're at a certain point, then it's like they wouldn't even like care enough for it to like make them want to change anything, or they wouldn't even have the capacity to get to that point of care for someone or love for someone to where it would want where they would want to change. So I don't know. I think it probably just depends. I think it just depends on the person. It depends on the person. Depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Because it also just might be like you were the bad guy in a really bad way. That might do it. Who knows?
What do you mean? I'm curious.
I don't know. I guess like let's say I don't know, let's say you like cheated for the first time, and maybe that was your first time cheating. But you realize that before that you were like a micro cheater, and now that you like
what the hell is a micro cheater?
A micro cheater is when you like don't like full on cheat, but you cheat like a little bit, a lot.
Like emotionally cheat?
Yeah, or like giving people your number, but you don't go on the date. Or like being on a dating app, but you're not hooking up with anyone.
Oh,
or it's
okay.
like you just like need attention from somewhere, but you're doing it like behind your partner's back.
Got you.
It's like
Yeah.
micro cheating. So I don't know. So maybe like you were, doing that behind your partner's back all the time, and then you like actually cheated and you got caught, and now you're like, oh my god, I never want to be that person again, or like I never want someone to be able to say this about me, or I don't want to make people feel like this again. Yeah. So that could prompt change.
No, I definitely agree with that. I know I've been through different things where I've been the bad guy, and I was like, oh hell no, this ain't me. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand. That's a good standpoint. I feel that. If someone keeps going back to the same toxic partner, does that mean that they're addicted to the chaos?
Probably.
They're addicted to the cycle.
Yes, because let me bring my favorite love, sex, relationship expert, Shan Boudram. She taught me everything I know. Shan. Um, so Shan taught me in one of her YouTube videos that the way that you build an addiction to a person is an inconsistent reward. So if someone is really nice to you half the time, and then the other half the time they're like not responsive, or they're iffy, or they're weird, or but then the other half of the time they're amazing, you love the conversation, they're great, so you're getting an inconsistent reward
Like
from them.
you.
Yeah, and so then it's like every time you like talk to them, you're like hoping and waiting that you get the good conversation this time, or that you get the good behavior, and so it's like you keep wanting to go back hoping you're going to get the good time.
Damn.
So that makes you, so an inconsistent reward.
Damn.
Is how you create addiction. So
breadcrumbing.
Yeah, so that is breadcrumbing. That is a way to start getting addicted to a person if they're doing that to you. So yeah, if you like keep having to go back because you're hoping to get like the good part of them, and it's like you get the bad part, you got to try again. You get the bad part, you got to try again. You get the bad part, you got to try again, because you're trying to get to the good part because you're addicted. So I'd say yeah.
Damn. How does someone that's going through that, because I think when you're in something it's hard to identify it. So how does someone who's being breadcrumbed identify, hey, I'm being breadcrumbed, when they're so used to the addictions and they haven't been able to take a step back yet in their life period to realize, hey, like, I deserve better than this?
Yeah. I mean, I think we just gotta do our best to like step outside the feelings and step outside the emotions and get into the logic. Because it's just, there's no reason you should be dating somebody on and off.
No,
there's
sure.
There's no reason there's no reason for stuff to just be so chaotic, and drama, and just like this up and down. And I just think if it doesn't feel good, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
It's supposed to feel good. Dating is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy. You're supposed to be enjoying each other.
Yeah. But that's not to mix up the tough seasons.
Yeah.
I gotta say that, because people be like, oh, it's always supposed to feel good. No, we not talking about toxic love versus tough seasons come with good love, but it should feel good the majority of the time.
Yeah. And then also even how somebody handles tough seasons, like I, was like, have been like grieving for a long time, and it's like I have been going, in and out of, bouts of my grief depression for the past year and a half, but I have never, you've never seen me lashing out at people, or like cussing people out, or like doing crazy stuff, so it's also like finding someone that can handle the tough seasons with grace.
You definitely handle it with grace.
Yeah, it's just there's not everybody can handle a tough season in a loving way. I think some people like let that turn them into, they take it out on their partner, and that's not good either.
Yeah. Something I was thinking about, I think I was talking to you about this, is like I'm a firm believer in space. To me, space does not mean, we break it. Like, let's say you're in a relationship, that doesn't mean we breaking up. It doesn't have to mean that. But I feel like sometimes as humans, like we need space, and like it didn't dawn on me how important space was until like now I travel for work again. So I was out the state and I was gone for a week and I was staying in this nice ass hotel. I was driving like my dream truck and I was just enjoying it. And then when I came back home, I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy I'm home. Like I missed my space, like I missed my home. And then I got in my car. I'm like, oh my God, I missed my car. But when I've been home, I'm like, yo, I'm so sick of my house. I want a new place. Like I want a new car. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it took like that little bit of space for me to come back home and be like, oh, I really appreciate my stuff. You know what I'm saying? And it made me realize how much I just appreciate space as a person. So even in a relationship, I think sometimes things feel tough because we're up under our person all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's like we don't give each other that much time to breathe versus if we gave each other space. Or even if you're dating someone, it's easy to be up under the person you're dating.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need space. Like go be with your friends or go on that girl's trip or go on that solo trip. And if you don't trust me on a solo trip, that's crazy because I work, I travel for work. But I'm just saying in general, like go take your space, which does not have to mean like you have to create so much distance between you and the person. And sometimes it does, but I think that if people took more time to themselves and still maintain the level of self-love, then the attachment to people wouldn't happen so easy. And to be able to think straight and to see somebody's breadcrumbing me, if I could take space to myself and just look at how I feel, think about those things, like it wouldn't happen so easily.
Yeah. And then I think also, I mean, I have seen some people that kind of like go from like relationship to relationship to relationship to relationship because they like need somebody. And it's like, if you never learn how to be your own rock, then you're gonna end up in more situations where you are dependent on someone and that gets taken advantage of, or like you're just or you're like you're not in the relationship because you want to be, because you have to be, or because you need someone. And I think a lot of people just really learn how to rely on the support of a partner and never like they don't learn how to rely on themselves.
Yeah.
And
don't you think that's one of the best things you could do?
Yeah, and I think that is something that, you grow in space with yourself, in time with yourself.
Yeah. It's tough. I think it's tough at first to just be by yourself when you're used to being with someone. But when you just get over the hump, and I think that's the thing. When things get hard, people go back to what they know because it's comfort in what I know. It's uncomfortable in the unknown because it's the what if. The what if and being in your own space is so beautiful because the what if is I get to know myself.
Yeah.
I get to see what I actually love, what I don't like, what I do like. I can come and go as I please. I can become a new person. It's such a great experience to just be with yourself.
And that's why they say, growth is what's on the other side of discomfort. It's not comfortable to grow most of the time.
Yeah.
So I guess what do you have any advice for if someone is trying to
what's she finna ask? What's she finna ask me?
It's like from what I said earlier, because I think it would be good for maybe to go into depth a little bit. But like, do you have any advice for if someone is trying to step out of their emotional attachment and see the situation for what it is, and they're trying to take their feelings out of it to look at it for what it is? Do you have any advice on how to do that?
Oh yeah, I do.
Okay.
I'm a Pisces. Okay. I'll leave them.
And a Sagittarius moon.
Hey, not too much on me, but that Capricorn ground me. Yeah. Ask your question again. Sorry.
Do you have any advice for if someone is trying to kind of separate the emotion or their feelings out of the situation so they can look at it logically and like see it for what it is instead of being caught up in all the feelings?
Yeah, take a step back.
Take a step back. Take some space.
Take some space.
Again, take some space.
It's hard to see things when you're right in the midst of it. When you're in the midst of the chaos, it's hard to see the big picture. It's kind of like if you're in a forest and you're in the middle of it, all you see is like these trees, you feel confided. versus if you took a step back and you looking at it from a mountain, you see the bigger picture. So I would just say take a step back, and don't be scared to say that you need like space, but also like don't be scared to dive in deep with yourself. Me, I confront myself on so many levels, whether that's me just kind of sitting there meditating, feeling whatever feeling I'm feeling and trying to identify like what the feeling is, or even if it's my feeling, because when we're around people, especially like me, I'm an empath. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a Pisces, so it's mutable, meaning that if I don't protect myself and if I'm not aware, if I'm just if I just go into a situation blind, then it's easy for that person's emotions to get on me. You know, and then it's easy for them to feel good around me because it's like, well, there's nothing but light around me. Like I'm a grounded ass person. So yeah, I feel like when you're super deep in your emotions, just take a step back, go journal, meditate, go for a walk, but like be with yourself to understand exactly what you're feeling, and like if that's what you want to move forward in, like take control of the situation.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts.
You know what I also really think is good is thinking it's like so simple and they do it in movies all the time, but I actually think it's like such clutch simple advice is like think about if your friend came to you and said that they did XY, that this person did X, Y, and Z to you, would you think your friend should stay with that person?
Yeah.
So the answer is usually no.
Yeah. But sometimes your friends can be harsh. Some things can't be worked through. I ain't gonna lie. But as a friend, you're like, oh hell nah. If it's like some things your friend might be like, hell nah. Like it actually can be worked through. But most of the time, yes, I definitely agree with that. For sure. That was a good question. You got any more questions? I gotta get Chanelle to ask some questions on the podcast.
I don't know. I'm not good on the fly.
Just be chopping it up.
Let me see.
You can ask a personal question if you want.
Oh, a personal question.
I mean, I'm just saying, I'm giving you the floor, but not too much now. Not too much.
How did you work on yourself to? I mean, we're talking a lot about other people, but like when it comes to you, how you yourself did you work on you for you to become a better partner to other people?
A lot of it just honestly was the self work that I put in. Like I know it just I had to acknowledge me. Number one, I had to acknowledge what I was putting up with and what I was dealing with and where that stemmed from. Like, what's the root? Why was I okay being treated like that? But to the other half, and this is the part that people forget, you got to acknowledge you and what you did. Because we all contribute in some kind of way to the chaos that was in our life. So I looked myself in the mirror and I did a mirror exercise, which is shadow work. And I really acknowledged the pain that I have caused to people that I loved. As much as they hurt me, I also hurt them too. So I had to really be real with myself and acknowledge it. And it was painful as hell for me to think that I may have said certain things. I may have did certain things. It was painful, you know what I'm saying? But it's like I had to acknowledge it. And I had to forgive myself for it. And then I also had to forgive them. And then from there, well, what does the next version of me look like? Like I had a moment where I came in my mind's eye, I came to peace with my old self. Like how some people like they have a hard time losing the old them. I don't. Like I came to peace and I said, you did the best that you could do in that era. Now it's time for me to evolve and move on. I really had that moment with myself. It was beautiful. So at that point, I made the decision to move on, and I went into hermit mode, and I just really tried to identify what my triggers were, and who I wanted to be. I started praying more, got deeper in my spirituality with God, universe, and I started treating myself better. And those things in itself helped me be I hope so, to whatever woman I marry, a better partner to her. And then two, I don't think people realize like you still have to go through stuff, like even through the healing process. Like you're gonna start dating people, right? Which is going to then expose, have you really healed in this area, or have you just been isolated so you're not dealing with it? So getting
gotta be tested. You gotta be tested.
Exactly. So getting back into the dating scene, I was able to identify like, okay, I'm still triggered here. And even in friendships, I'm still triggered here versus, okay, I'm handling this way better, And then also, I'm an executive for work. So I I used to have over 200 employees underneath me into this new job. So, like, that's a lot of personalities to deal with. That helped.
Yeah.
My patience. So honestly, just being totally transparent with myself and like totally brutally honest and not putting it on other people.
Yeah. Accountability. Beautiful thing.
That's the word of the day.
Aw, I'm proud of you. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. That was deep. But I still don't always make the best decisions. And it's funny, I was talking to my friend that was just here, and I was telling her some stuff. I was like, man, I'm so frustrated. I feel confused and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah. And she was like, you just seem so put together and like you got it all together and all this kind of stuff. And it's like two things can be true. First of all, nobody has it all together.
Yeah.
But the second thing is, as you're working on yourself, you do hopefully have a level of togetherness. But also two things can be true, understanding that we're always still working on ourselves and we're always still healing and we're always evolving. And I can't help but acknowledge that, So I still go through things that I still have to work through to today. So
yeah, healing. It's not a linear journey. It's not a straight path.
It would be pretty boring if it was.
Yeah. But hopefully it's more like this. Yeah, and not like this.
I think a piece of advice that I would have for people who are having a hard time like leaving a situation alone or really healing. Well, I'm not going to say having a hard time healing because time heals everything, right? You just have to go through the time and work through the pain and you will come out on the other side. Just don't go backwards, right? But I think a piece of advice that I have for people is really when you're in those spaces, take that energy, that pain. That's why I learned what alchemy is. The book, The Alchemist. Take that energy and pain and transmute it. Meaning use that as the fuel you need to go start a business, to go to the gym, to start writing that book you said you were going to write, to start playing tennis or making music or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Use that pain as the fuel to do it, because sometimes what happens is when we're good, like we get stagnant because we're comfortable. But like allow that uncomfortableness to get you to the next level. For instance, I wasn't in a good space. I allowed that to help me start making content. It was just my way of expressing myself, and then my content turned into a podcast. Right? I allowed the pain, I transmuted it to. That's why I say, we're all alchemists. We just have to realize it and understand what our power is.
Yeah, you know what? That made me think of something else. Discipline. I feel like we have to, be disciplined in kind of the things you said, and like kind of, using our energy for more positive things. But I think we also have to be disciplined in dating as well. We can't just say that we want, X, Y, and Z, and then don't make decisions that, align with that. Like we have to like really say, this is what we want, this is what we're not going to accept. And then we got to like have discipline to, stick to that, which is really hard. It's really hard when there's feelings involved or when we like people or when things feel good. But yeah, it's about discipline.
No, I think you're right. It is about discipline, but sometimes those little few ones, stop in.
Slip through the crack.
But I think it goes back to what you was saying, like, just kind of identifying it. And when you identify it, okay, regroup, and like
Mm-hmm.
you know, remember what your values and your morals are, and exactly like what you were saying, like what you're looking for. Because honestly, you don't have to stay in anything toxic. What I realized and what I learned throughout being single and dating is that, again, like I said, um, I've dated some amazing women. We may not have been compatible, but we were they're amazing women. So in my mind, I'm just like, at some point, the universe will bring you your person, as long as you continue to work on yourself. But you will be tested.
Yeah.
And sometimes the test has to look like a beautiful package to see if you're gonna pick it up.
Yeah, otherwise it wouldn't be a test.
Yeah.
You know, it's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. What's one piece of advice you give to someone who's confusing chaos for love right now?
I would say, you know, real love is not supposed to be chaotic, and don't let people make you feel like it is. Don't let people make you feel like, well, relationships are hard and da, 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 da. I mean, I'm not saying it's supposed to be like peaches and cream all the time, you know, but um when it doesn't feel peaceful, or when it doesn't feel calm, or when it feels very like up and down, up and down, up and down, it's just not stable in the long term. And so it's going to eventually probably escalate into a place you don't want it to go to. And so really just have to make a plan for how to leave and stay gone.
Yeah. Yo, that's funny. That's
Make
the
a
part
plan.
right
You know, I have a whole breakup like playbook that I operate by.
What's your breakup playbook?
Is we break up, no contact. I don't want to see your social media. Don't talk to me. You know, for at least a couple weeks, and then I make a list of everything I didn't like about that person, and then all the issues I had with them. And if I ever get in my feelings, I go look at that list, and then I remember that's why we broke up.
Period. Because for some reason it's easy to romanticize the things that were good, forgetting the things that. And you know, I do something similar to that. I don't make like a note list, but you know, I journal. So I type stuff, or I write it down, and I'll go back and I'll read my thoughts that day and that day and that day. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we have a problem here.
Yeah.
So that's some great advice, though. That's actually some excellent advice. So, how do you know when you're healed and ready to date again?
I would say once you are not feeling this, like, I don't think it's like after you break up with someone, I think there's like this natural like urge to want to get attention from someone else, or want to like know that you can get someone else, or want to entertain someone else. Like there's like a natural urge to date after you've just been through a breakup. And so I actually think like after that urge subsides and you find like a steady flow of peace just being by yourself, um and then when you feel right, I don't know, when you feel ready. I just feel like when you understand the lessons you were supposed to learn from the previous situation, and understand how to not get into a situation like that again, then I think you might be ready.
That's some great advice. When you worked on yourself a little bit. Nah, that's some great advice. Yeah. I think that I don't think you ever heal. I think you can heal from things, but I think healing in itself, the essence of healing, is an ongoing journey,
a lifelong journey.
Yeah, but you can heal from things. Like people say, oh, you can heal. Like I've definitely healed from my past. Even my childhood, I've healed from my childhood trauma. Like I've put a lot of work in. But I feel like some telltale signs is exactly what you're saying. Like when you can be alone and be happy in your peace, you can take yourself out and you're good, and you know, you really just start to learn yourself. And like when you can do for yourself and be okay with yourself, it's easier to add a person in. So
yeah, because then they're not there because you need them. They're there because you want them there.
Yeah, I don't want anybody to need me.
Yeah.
I want you to want me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, this was a great topic. What you think about this topic?
I thought this was a nice topic.
You have
Nice
anything else to
choice.
add?
I don't know. Let's see. What's something that is really like normalized, but is really not actually okay?
Something that's normalized but it's not okay.
I'll go first. The going through phones. I feel like going through phones. I feel like it's like people act like it's not a big deal, but I just feel like it's such a. I don't know, like our phones are very private earlier. I don't know if it's maybe just I don't know if it's just me or not, but I feel like your phone is like a very private, personal thing, and it's like if someone I don't know. I feel so invaded if someone wants to go through my phone, and I also feel like if they don't trust you, if there's no trust, what are you even doing? How are you even together if there's no trust?
Yeah, I would feel very invaded if somebody went through my phone. Like at this point in my life, if we're together, we're locked in, and like if you don't trust me, then we need to talk about it, or it may be something you're doing, or there might be a bigger issue here.
Yeah.
I would feel very disrespected if somebody went through my phone. Now, if my partner said, "Hey, babe, I just have this urgent, like just whatever, like, it's a rare thing," then okay, I guess. But why?
Yeah.
I get it though.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's accepted that isn't normal, or something that's normal that
Yeah, something that's like people act like it's normal and okay now because it's like so common, but it's really not okay.
situationships. Situationships. What the hell is a situationship? I'm sorry, I'm not being nobody's situation.
No, I feel that. I actually think situationships are a myth. I think they're a myth. I think that they're not real. I think we made them up.
Y'all dating.
It's like you're together or you're not together. It's like either there's a relationship or there's not a relationship.
Yeah, y'all. It's really, to me, a situationship is I want what you offer without commitment.
Yeah.
Meaning that if I go do something else, you can't say anything because we weren't together anyways.
Yeah.
I told you I wasn't ready, but you want relationship type stuff and energy from me.
Yeah.
You're not putting me in a situationship. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Put a ring on it.
And if you're not ready to love in that kind of way, then you shouldn't be entertaining in that kind of way. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, whether people realize it or not, it's just there's so much trauma going on. Nowadays people are so broken for real that they don't realize situationships are dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To be in them.
Yeah. And they're a legitimate waste of time. Because if that person don't want to commit to you, they're not, you can wait around 6 months, a year, 2 years, they're not going to do it.
Yeah, because they're getting everything they want out. And if that's how they want to move, honestly, it's just not. I don't like situationships.
Yeah, I'm not begging nobody to commit to me.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that this was an absolutely, this was an amazing episode. I'm so excited to have Chanelle on the podcast. Let's talk about it with Inea Mashira, powered by my brand, Substance Culture. So podcast is called Let's Talk About It with Inea Mashira, but it's going to be on my community page, Substance Culture, but you can find me on all platforms at Inea Mashira. I'm super excited about this. So I think we talked a lot today. We gave you guys so much information about toxic love versus tough love. We talked about real love a little bit. Please share this with someone who needs it. And also on the flip side, a lot of people watch the show, but they don't subscribe. So make sure you take the time, 10 seconds or less, to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's get this out here. We're going to continue to talk about things that we need to talk about. We got to just continue to lift the energy and evolve as people. So, again, Chanelle, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
And until next time, we'll see you. The love that you deserve starts with you. The love that you need, it starts with you. When you begin to love yourself, trust yourself, care for yourself the way you care for others, eventually the universe will align you with the people that's supposed to be in your life that will match you on that frequency. Anytime you look for love outside of yourself, yes,